Well, good morning, everyone, and I'd like to thank the organisers for giving me this opportunity to speak today. What I'd like to do is start by giving you a very brief overview of Haslemere Biodiversity in terms of who we are and what we do. And then I'm going to try and pull out some of the key learnings that we've had as a community biodiversity group along our journey towards nature recovery. So who are we? Well, we're essentially a voluntary community group made up almost entirely of volunteers. We were originally set up in around 2019 to help the town council put together the Haslemere neighbourhood plan. And that work was finally concluded with the formal adoption of the neighbourhood plan in 2021. And since then, we've focused exclusively on biodiversity, and we're now set up as an independent, not-for-profit company limited by guarantee. Our mission is all about developing policies, plans and partnerships that protect and restore Haslemere's very rich and rather special biodiversity for wildlife and local people over the long term. And when we first started, it was very clear that already a lot of excellent work was being done by a number of other local groups across the town on nature conservation, but it just wasn't very well joined up. And we saw an opportunity here to create a platform that could bring these different groups together to share ideas, expertise, and best practice, and also promote a common approach to maximize the benefits to wildlife and also the community. And we work with a wide range of different partners, and some of them are just shown there. So in terms of what we do, we spent a lot of our time mapping and surveying the Haslemere Ecological Network, or the HEN as we call it. And the first step in this process was to commission 2 professional ecologists to carry out a biodiversity audit of the HEN so that we got a better feel for exactly what's in there, what those biodiversity assets look like and where they're located. And this work, which was essentially a desk study, was published and completed and published in 2020. And since then, we've been working to carry out more detailed surveys of different parts of the HEN so that we get a better feel for its ecological condition, we can continue to build our evidence base, and we can identify the main priorities for restoration and or enhancement work. The main output of this work is summarised in a set of maps which extend across the whole parish, and we've been using those for two main purposes. One is that the work underpins policy in the neighbourhood plan, which, as I say, was formally adopted in 2021, and this is now routinely used for guiding planning and development decisions. And secondly, the biodiversity audit provided a really valuable foundation for developing a Haslemere nature recovery strategy. So we've been working on this for about 2 years now, and this strategy sets out to identify the main opportunities, priorities and measures for nature recovery across the parish, and to propose a framework, 5-year framework for action. The intention is that's going to be delivered through a series of projects and partnerships. And throughout the process, we've been working closely with other stakeholders to make sure we get their input to the process. And we've tried to make sure that we're particularly well aligned with Surrey County Council's Adam Brown's group, who's working on the local nature recovery strategy at county level. And this helps to make sure that the principles and priorities at the county level can be fed down into the projects that we're doing on the ground in Haslemere. We're just putting together our final draft strategy, and that's going to go out for community consultation in May and June, and hopefully will get finalised and formally launched later in the year. We're also involved in a number of mini projects, and typically these focus on a local species or habitats that are under threat. And they proved a really good way of demonstrating the value of local community action in terms of delivering some grassroots nature protection and enhancement work. So just a few examples here. For the past 4 years, we've been running a dormouse monitoring programme over in the east of the parish in Grayswood, working with 9 local landowners and the Surrey Dormouse Group. We're a partner in the Riverway Water Vole Recovery Project. We also, Haslemere sits on a national bee line, and in 2024, we created our first wildflower verge up in the north of the parish along Golden Valley. And this verge is owned by the National Trust, and other partners include BugLife and the Town Council and local volunteers. We're particularly proud of our wildlife gardening project, which was launched last year. And we give a shout out as well to Krista Emmett and her team from Surrey Wildlife Trust, Wilder Communities Group, who have provided invaluable support here. The main aim of the project was to raise awareness of the importance of gardens and community green spaces as wildlife havens, and to provide practical advice and support to residents on how they can make their green spaces more wildlife friendly. So we tend to run 2 events a year for adults in the evening, which are talks, bringing in speakers, expert speakers, to talk about particular topics. So far, we've covered bumblebees, swifts, reptiles and amphibians in the garden. And our next talk is on hedgehogs, which is on April the 7th. And later in the year, we're also planning a more family-friendly day, which will be a bio-blitz carried out in combination with the Natural History Museum and the Natural History Society. And that's proved very popular and is a really good way of engaging with local residents. 2 other projects we're launching this year. Our Haslemere Swift Recovery Project is being carried out in conjunction with expert swift groups from Hampshire and Guildford, as well as the Wildlife Trust, and with funding from Surrey County Council. And what we're trying to do here is establish 3 swift streets across the town where local residents have been subjected to a community awareness raising campaign and invited to host a swift nest box. And the idea is that by building up collections of nest boxes across the town in these streets, we can boost the breeding success of local swift colonies. And that again has proved we've been really very pleased by the response there. We've had over 100 applications for boxes. And in this first phase 1, we hope to install 60 to 70 boxes this year. Final mention of our project, another new project this year, we're working with Thames Water, where we're taking over the management of one of their non-operational sites in Haslemere to create a community biodiversity reserve. And this is already quite exciting because it provides a great opportunity for us to bring in some of our volunteers and help train them in land management and nature conservation techniques, as well as to carry out certain citizen science projects, surveys, etc. We're also involved in communication and outreach. We have a website, we're active on social media, we produce a regular newsletter, and that's been really important in terms of getting our message out there and engaging the local community as well as a wide range of other stakeholders. We have a volunteer base of around 40 members currently, and these people can be brought in to help with some of the projects that I've just talked about. But I think just focusing on some of the key learnings along the way. On the positive side, there are probably 5 things I'd just like to flag up. The first is that it's really important to have the right mix of skills in your management team. We have a steering group of 5 members, and our backgrounds include sustainable agriculture, in my case, communications, which has been really valuable, but also legal, finance, and compliance skills, which have actually been really useful in taking some of our projects forward. We're also supported by 3 professional ecologists who we bring in to provide technical expertise and support to some of our projects on an as-needed basis, and also, of course, when funding permits. Second point is that we were very fortunate to benefit from some seed funding from the Lobs charity and also the Town Council right at the outset. And this has proved particularly invaluable in terms of allowing us to fund the biodiversity audit and also to get our first couple of mini projects going. The biodiversity audit, as I mentioned before, has provided a really important foundation for everything that we've done subsequently, including the nature recovery strategy. Mini projects have provided very, very good way of engaging with the local community as well as other stakeholders, and have really proved quite successful in terms of getting the message across, raising awareness about some of the issues that our local nature faces and how those can be tackled effectively by local community action. And finally, just mention partnerships, which are absolutely critical. There's no way that a small group like ours could have done everything we've managed to achieve so far if we didn't have the right partners in place. And we've actually invested quite a lot of time in networking and trying to build these relationships with key partners who can bring in complementary skills, expertise, resources to help us with deliver these different projects. On the other side, there have been some quite significant challenges at times. The first of those, I think, funding, as I think probably everyone in the room will agree, is an ongoing issue, and it takes a lot of time. The environment is really quite competitive. Schemes often come up at quite short notice, and you have a short window then to put your application in. But we're getting a lot better at actually learning how to do this. My colleague Diane, who's somewhere in the audience, is our expert lead on this, and finding ways of actually trying to improve our success at getting a good outcome. The second point I'd mention is that we are very dependent on our volunteers. And that's great, but all the volunteers have other commitments. It can be family, it could be job, other hobbies. And we just have to work around their availability. And that means that we often can't go as quickly as we'd like to, but you just have to live with that and deal with it. Also, I think one thing that's very important is to have in the team somewhere somebody who has professional expertise in actually managing and coordinating volunteers. And that's something we're still struggling with a bit. We've had a lot of help from the Surrey Wildlife Trust in doing this, but it is quite a challenge so that you can make sure that you're harnessing the energy and enthusiasm of your volunteers and channeling that in a positive way. And lastly, because this is a planning focused conference, I think I'd just say a word on that. Our group's got involved in a number of planning applications and inquiries over the years, and they've always proved really quite difficult in that we feel it's important that we have a voice as a local group, and certainly our evidence base around the hen can provide some really useful local data to put into the mix there. But again, if you don't have planning expertise within your group, this can be a real struggle. The developers we've been dealing with are often very well funded, very well resourced, and it's been very difficult and very time consuming to make good progress on here. So I guess this is a common problem for other community groups in how do we develop strategies for actually handling these sort of applications and inquiries in a better way so we can get a better outcome. Well, I think my time is up, so I'll draw to a close. That was a very quick gallop through, but I hope it's given you a flavour of what we do and some of the things that we faced along the way. Thank you.